I had a few requests to show how I cook beans and prepare them, so I'm going to show you what I do on a day-to-day basis when I make dried beans from scratch. I highly recommend getting a trusty crock pot. They do get kind of dirty looking sometimes, so that's just a warning, but that is cleaned. Sometimes the ceramic, the finish on the ceramic gets worn down depending on if you let it get too hot sometimes. So I heard baking soda works to get the finish back where it's supposed to be, so I might have to try that. But yeah, we're gonna start off with our crock pot, and I am cooking some garbanzo beans. So I'll be back in a little bit to show you what I do. It ended up being about 9 cups of water. So 3 cups of beans to 9 cups of water is about the ratio that you want for making them in your crock pot. And yeah, so 3 cups of beans to 9 cups of water, so 6 more cups of water than beans. Okay, so now I have the whole bag of chickpeas in there, garbanzo beans, and what you want to do is you want to rinse them out, like get a sieve and rinse them out in your sink so you get all the grime off it before you put it in your crock pot. It ended up being about 3 cups, so 3 cups of beans in the bag, and then I measured out how much water I put in there. This will cook up to twice that size, so the beans will probably be up to the edge here when we're done cooking. So it makes a lot of beans, and it only cost about $1.20 for a bag, which is about a pound. So that equals 3 cups, and that'll be about 6 cups when this is done cooking. That's why it's such a good deal. Alright, so pretty much what I do is I put the lid on there, and then I like to start it off high just to get the temperature going, and then once it starts getting warm in there, if you have a lot of time to cook it low and slow, then you put it back to the low setting. And then if you have a lot of time, that's the way to do it. You can get these on sale for like $20. This is just the smaller size. It really works for my apartment. I got it as a wedding gift, so I really highly recommend crock pots. They will save you so much time when you're cooking beans, and you don't even have to think about it. They'll be ready when you get home from work or whatever you happen to be doing. Okay, and I have a few more quick little tips for the beans that I forgot to share with you guys. I think I have better lighting in here anyway. So the tips of the beans, you want to make sure that you add the salt towards the end of the cook time when you're cooking beans. I like to add the salt about an hour before the beans are done. So the reason you do that is because if you add the salt at the beginning, the beans get really tough. So if you add it towards the end, it works a lot better. And you can add whatever spices you want to add at that point. If you want to add a little bit of oil, some chili powder, whatever you want to add at that point is fine. I usually don't do that because I cook up my whole batch for the week, and that way I could use it in a variety of dishes and cuisines. I don't have any spices in it already, so I can just add that when I go to cook it. The cook times on lentils are a little bit different. Lentils are a good way to go if you don't have a lot of time, or if you forgot to start up beans earlier in the day. Lentils take about an hour to a half hour depending on what kind of lentils you pick. The red lentils cook up in about a half hour. I usually cook lentils on medium heat. You can cook it from medium to medium high heat depending on how much time you have. Of course, the lower heat that you cook it at, the more tender they're going to be. If you cook it at super high heat, what happens is the skins will start to separate from the beans and they get really tough and grainy. So that's a big reason why I believe in the crock pot method. And if you don't have a crock pot, you can cook them on the stove with a pot with a lid that closes. I like to leave it off just a tiny crack just so that the water doesn't go everywhere and boil over. But you do need to be home for that method. You can't just leave it and go somewhere. So that's why I recommend the crock pot. You can use that when you're at work and have it cooking for you throughout the day, and you don't have to sit around and stir it and all that stuff. Yeah, crock pot's just a great solution. And I do have a word of caution on kidney beans. I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard if you don't cook them correctly, they can be toxic or have some kind of poison. So I will link that in the down bar, the information about that. That's why I tend to buy my kidney beans pre-cooked, just so there's no mistake and I don't mess it up. But I think if you cook it low and slow, you should be okay. You just want to make sure they're thoroughly cooked all the way through. But yeah, I really recommend making your own beans. You save so much money. As you saw, I got that whole bag of garbanzo beans for like $1.20. Cans usually cost anywhere from like, especially for garbanzo beans, they usually cost about 70 cents a can or more, depending on what brand you get. So I got about 3 cups, and that'll equal about 6 cups when they're cooked for $1.20. So that's just a really amazing deal. You can make all kinds of stuff with it. You can make bean dip. You could use them in several meals throughout the week. That's what I do. I cook up about 2 different kinds of beans for the week, and then I just use them in all my different dishes. So essentially, like, you start beans out at the beginning of the week, and they usually last a good 3 to 5 days. As long as you seal them correctly, you shouldn't have a problem with them going bad. But yeah, just use them throughout the week. They're really quick and easy dinner once you have them cooked up and ready to go. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I think that beans are the way to go for your protein. They're super cheap. They taste good. There's a wide variety that you can pick from. Essentially, it's the same process for every kind of bean. Lentils, of course, those are about an hour to half hour to cook. And then beans, usually roughly about 5 to 6 hours. If you cook it on low heat, you could even go for longer, like 8 hours while you're at work. So yeah, and then you just drain them out. If there's any extra water, rinse them, and you're good to go. I hope that this is informative and helpful for you guys, and don't be afraid to cook your own beans. It's a lot cheaper and really affordable and just really smart for your budget.